I'm signing a new executive order placing travel restrictions on countries including Yemen, Somalia, Haiti, Libya, and numerous others. The strength of the restrictions we're applying depends on the severity of the threat posed. Likewise, new countries can be added as threats emerge around the world.
So the travel ban returns. President Trump bringing about policy back from his first term. 12 countries face full bans. 7 others partial restrictions. They are set to take effect on Monday. Tammy Bruce, State Department spokeswoman, with me now. And good morning to you, Tammy. Thanks for coming back. We got a lot of issues to get through. Let's see how many we can just run through right now. In 2018, the court ruled with the Trump team in Trump 1.0. What's the logic behind this ban now, Tammy?
Well, look, these are common sense restrictions on very specific countries that have very specific issues, including either countries that don't vet their people enough or don't share threat information with us, or high visa overstay rates here, or that they just simply don't take back their own nationals when we need to send them back. Threat dynamics that exist regarding terrorism. This is about national security. It is about immigration. And these are very specific elements that have been laid out. It's why his restrictions were supported and upheld previously, as these will be. This is within his executive prerogative and is based, again, on national security and the sovereign right of every country, of course, to control the nature of who comes into their nation.
We're looking at the map here. Did the Colorado case push his hand?
No, as a matter of fact, many people have thought that that was what began this. But in fact, this was his plan all along. This was there was an executive order within the first couple of days of this second term that indicated his intention to do this. But what, of course, Colorado showed us was the vital importance of this action, the fact that the president has been right from the start. It is another example of why this has to be done. It was not the trigger, but it certainly is another example of why we're doing this.
Okay, that question comes specifically because the suspect in Colorado is from Egypt. Egypt is not on that list as of now, or maybe never.
Well,
I want to ask you about Harvard.
Yes.
I want to ask you about Harvard if I could. So the president wants to say no foreign students go to Harvard. Here's the direct response from the school. This is yet another illegal, retaliatory step taken by the administration in violation of Harvard's First Amendment rights. Harvard will continue to protect its international students. What's the problem with 27% of the student population at Harvard?
Well, in this recent action, actually, it's not all foreign students. This is about exchange students in a certain framework. It is about certain visas. And also the Secretary of State has leeway to address the students that are currently here. So I understand, once again, though, misrepresenting the nature of what the president's doing, the nature of what we want to achieve here at the State Department. The fact is, this is about, well, Harvard, as an example, is considered the favorite for the party, for the Chinese Communist Party. This also moves into common sense issues involving American national security and the safety of Americans here at home and our foreign policy. So there is some leeway for the Secretary of State to determine those who are here currently regarding the current proclamation, if certain people fit that. Limited number of visas when it comes to student visas and exchange students in this case, not all foreign students.
Okay, I get more questions about it, but I'm almost out of time, and I have to get to the story because it's coming up today in Michigan. These 2 Chinese nationals, at least one will appear in court today. Out of Beijing, here is the statement from the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The Chinese government has always required Chinese citizens overseas to strictly abide by local laws and regulations while also safeguarding their legitimate rights and interests in accordance with the law. Question on this. Was the U.S. government watching these 2 as they came back into the country?
Well, I can't speak to that. You'd have to speak to the Department of Homeland Security. But as we've just discussed about the importance of looking at people who have visas, what their intentions are, the nature of the Chinese Communist Party's intentions, pathogens that we know now have been carried. In one instance, someone being sent back in 2018. In this case, of course, the details are going to be important as we look at the judicial system and how we proceed. But this is another example of why the the visa dynamic, Secretary Rubio's approach, the president's vision is key to the nature of not just when it comes to what happens on a campus with demonstrations or crime or graffiti or threats to Jews. All of that is, of course, vitally important, but also when it comes to dealing here with pathogens, the nature of what can happen to crops, to the ability of like the bird flu, of being able to have chickens and eggs, and the impact of the entire food supply. This is what we're looking at. The threats are key, and they're widespread. They're very different. Each case is looked at separately. But this is a reminder of the importance of President Trump's approach and Secretary Rubio's aggressive approach regarding visa restrictions and our borders.
Well, these items were not easy to find. And there was at least 2 inspections of their luggage and backpack. And kudos to the Border Patrol for catching it. We'll see what happens in court today. Tammy Bruce, thank you for your time for the State Department. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.